Hello everybody, SirMonkeySuit here, back again with Steins. It's episode 11. So, what happened in episode 10? Well, I think the most important thing that really sort of occurred, essentially we are in the world line that we're in now is because of Faris, right? It's Faris's, because she was the last one to send a message back. So essentially she sent a message back relatively far back, in which case like she is apparently she has a relationship with her father, which she mustn't have had before because she was living on her own with a butler, it would seem, and also Faris never really got into the whole Moe culture thing in this new world line, probably because she could rely a bit more on her father and probably didn't have to sort of do everything for herself, I guess. So yeah, like the whole of Akihabara, I think that's where they are, right? At least in the area, anyway. Like all of that is like changed. Like the shops are different and everything like that. It's not a thing. Also, because of this world line, we had Ruko, who was a girl now. Like Ruko actually managed to change his gender to female. So I'm pretty sure I talked about this like last episode, but I don't understand how that would even work. But oh well, it happened, I guess. We had Suzuha, who's looking for her dad, and you know, kind of vaguely like explaining, like, oh yeah, like this is where my father should be. However, if I don't find him here, then I never will. It's sort of that vague sort of time travel thing that she's kind of putting across, and she's done this a couple of times now. And it just makes me believe it's like Suzuha has this different kind of time travel to what D-Mail is. But it's still, yeah, but it, you know, obviously there's still different world lines of Suzuha and whatnot. So she went looking for her dad, and eventually like couldn't find her dad, so she sent a message to Okabe telling him that she's leaving. He went out to try and find her, couldn't find her, so he went back in time again, to actually follow her to make sure she didn't go anywhere. So yeah, so now we're in the world line where Suzuha's still there. We don't really know what. I guess it wouldn't be that there wouldn't be that much consequence because it would have only been like less than a day he went back in time to, right? So there wouldn't be that much change. The only other real thing that is interesting is the sort of threatening text that Okabe was got, which I believe just said like "I'm watching you" or something. And I don't know who that could be. But I feel like Okabe thinks it's like the organization, shit like that. So yeah. We'll have to see. But yeah, that is all. So without further ado, we're just going to get straight into episode 11. So let's go.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to distract your boss for 5 seconds so he doesn't notice the pandemonium going on upstairs.
I'll lay on the woman charm, and if that doesn't work, I'll bust out the guns.
Those will do. Clear. Begin the experiment. What the hell?
Huh.
Why did it stop?
They must have heard him, unless...
You figured out that quick. So it's from the TV?
Are you telling me?
Wait, so let me get this straight.
The 42-inch TV down there has been acting as the lifter all this time.
Yeah, the lifter.
And
It's all
only
wrote down.
emails sent out while it was on during business hours actually made it back? You know, that explains a lot. You can't compress a human being down to 36 bytes. You do remember CERN subjects turning into pudding, don't you? An analysis of neural pulse signals in relation to memories stored in the temporal lobe.
If that's just the title, I'm scared.
Basically, it's all about the wiring of our memories. The science of the brain is kind of my thing. It's just data like any other.
Just data.
Maybe able to send your memory through them, maybe?
Physically self-centered.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happens. That's what
more like
happens to thing
consciousness
to
hopping than time
Okabe,
travel.
right?
Going to field test the process you just delineated to us. Try to stay on task.
It's not as easy as that. I'm gonna need to find all sorts of supplemental equipment. PhoneWave probably can't compress all that data without a bunch of add-ons. That's all. All right. Here are all the parts I'll need.
We can graft your current mind onto the mind of your former self.
Sounds kind of scary to me. Maybe we should just stick with the D-mail instead.
Well, unfortunately, with D-mail there are too many variables at play. Hopefully a person wouldn't choose to alter too much. Take the current transformed state of Akihabara. It's a perfect example of this.
Of what? What happens to this you after your memories get sent back? Because your body's still here. Is your head all empty or what?
That's a good question.
And also, you know how we're having this conversation right now, Ocarine?
Yeah?
Okay, so pretend that my brain goes back in time a whole week and we do the week over. What happens if we don't have this conversation the second time around?
In that case, I assume you'd remember this talk, but not I. Because for me, the whole thing never would have taken place.
So at all.
It goes back to what you were
That's how it
saying about
works.
like how she feels
I
like
think so.
Okabe's like getting further and
If that
further away.
happened, I think that I would cry.
Shining Finger, you look even more serious than usual.
It just looks so like angry, like. "Grr."
Now we can do a time leap with someone's memories.
Don't just blurt it out.
Aww, but Moeka's a lab member. She's 005. I'm glad to see you too, Nai. Where'd you come from?
Anyway, we're out here because Nai has something to tell you.
Is that so?
I'm sorry. My dad shouldn't have been so mean before.
Thank you, Nai. But I've been a thorn in your father's side since the day I moved in. Kinda had it coming.
Not like you to be so patient with her. I wasn't gonna tell you this, but she works for CERN.
I knew something was up. I knew it. So when she said she was going to America, she wasn't. She was going to
My
Geneva.
heart's been busy
That's where it
lately.
is, right?
Totally. How long have you been standing there?
Actually, this bodes rather well for you. I know it comes as a relief to me. Anyone who can't cover their internet tracks can't possibly be a spy.
Ha ha. Real funny.
Well, Suzuha did intimate that you were a CERN operative when I ran into her earlier, so...
You know damn well I'm no such thing. I'm worried about what'll happen if we actually do this. But it's more than just that.
Go on.
As Okay, so things between my dad and I are kind of rough. My dad dislikes me. No, he hates me. Not as his child, but as a scientist, as a rival.
So he went on
He's a
to
physicist.
do time travel stuff, but she
Well,
obviously doesn't
was.
like it. So
When I was little,
Probably
I
against
loved
each
to
other, I
hear him
guess.
talk about the intricacies of his work. That's when I started writing scientific papers and winning a bunch of awards on my own. I liked that it was our thing. We'd share papers over email, debating ideas. But then the emails stopped. Suddenly, nothing. Got mean.
oh,
To Mom,
okay.
to his peers. Academia kicked him to the curb. The last time I saw him, what he said, word for word, was, "I don't need your pity. How dare you look down on me?"
In that case, let us begin Operation Verdandi without delay. We haven't any time to waste. The organization snaps at our very heels. I'm going to fix this. Where's your father now?
Huh? Oh, in Almery. Why?
Travel will be expensive, but no matter. Really pick the day and I will free up my schedule.
Whoa, wait. We're gonna go see my dad?
So does he plan on doing
Wait a
it,
sec.
doing it without doing
So
the...
you're telling me just when I
back
get
in
used to
time
you
and shit?
being an ass, you're gonna say something nice? Yeah. And no wussing out. You're in this with me even if I have to drag you kicking and screaming.
I doubt you'll have to.
I need to
Hey,
write
what
down
you
and
got
say
there?
A
something
bunch
about
of cosplay materials
the
and all
idea
my
that he
sleepover
calls
stuff.
her Christina.
You're crashing here?
Yep, so I figured I'd bring some cosplay work along.
Is this okay with your parents? Did you ask first?
I just told him you'd be here too, so it's fine. You're staying over to upgrade the phone wave, right? Maybe I shouldn't spend the night.
No, I don't mind sticking around, so long as Pudding Thief here is sleeping somewhere else.
What did you say? My soul is tied to these very floorboards. We are as one. Demands, I assume.
Who is sending it?
Oh my god.
Oh, what?
Mayuri.
What?
Mayuri. Mayuri!
What am I missing? Oh god, he's gonna walk in on them, isn't he? Gonna walk out of them changing. Yep, I knew it.
You! Oh, I can't believe you! You are such an asshole! What is your problem, anyway? You okay?
Ocarine?
Yeah, I called it. I tried to log in from my home computer, but the lab PC wouldn't allow it.
What's the issue?
Well, it's spoken for, because we're already connected to CERN.
What? So we've been connected this whole time?
If you aren't the one who plugged us into CERN, then who's to say it's not them hacking into our system? Maybe they want to see what we've been up to all this time.
So where the
On the
messages are
upside,
coming
we
from
can
then,
use the
maybe?
LSD from here, so.
Them?
I don't know though.
There a problem with your phone?
I feel like I'm gonna get no more answers here. It's just gonna end. Yep. Fuck. God's sake. No. Ah. I think it's Moeka. I think it's Moeka. That's who it is. I have a feeling. It's the only discernible, like, sort of... It's the only, like, person who we know of in this show, the only character that I feel like is so mysterious and is sort of, she knows a bit about it. Like, she knew about the IBN 5100 and stuff before Okabe even told her about it. She goes around like taking pictures and stuff. I mean, it's not like out of the realm of possibility that like nobody else takes pictures in this world, but she takes pictures and stuff. So the fact that she's like sending Okabe like pictures along with these messages, like, I don't know, it's a tiny, it's kind of a long stretch. It's a you know, but you know that you could sort of make a connection there. But there was that whole thing of Moeka going back in time to not buy a phone, right? Makes me think she's obviously using a phone that comes up as a different number, right? But she has Okabe's phone number, right? Which means she can just use a different phone to text him. So Okabe doesn't know that it's her. I think just because Moeka, because she's so quiet about everything, she must know. She must know something, because, you know, she knows about all this stuff. I think she was just keeping an eye out, and then when she obviously learned about like Okabe and what he's doing and stuff, she wanted to get involved. And now that obviously she knows about the trying to go a bit further and try to get like memories and stuff, and put those back in time instead. She knows about that now, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, like it comes up with another message later on. You know too much. So I'm inclined to believe that it's her. I think there was a bit of a sort of a red herring thing going on with Suzuha sort of placing Kurisu as like the one to look out for, because obviously Kurisu, like, there's more than meets the eye with her. So there was like almost like a red herring there, but I just can't shake that there are a lot of coincidental things happening around Moeka. You know, maybe Kurisu does work for CERN, but I feel like, you know, while I'm inclined to believe Suzuha, but what I'm thinking is Suzuha is saying that Kurisu works for CERN could be a different Kurisu she's talking about, you know? Like a different word line Kurisu. Possibly. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm a bit iffy on that theory, because I could also see Kurisu just like keeping it under wraps and just keeping it to herself that she does work for CERN. Because if she was to just blurt it out like, oh yeah, work for CERN, whatever, like, it may kind of make Okabe a bit less trustworthy of her, so, you know. But I would say that if Kurisu is working for CERN, then she is doing, like, she is working on the outskirts of CERN. Like, I don't think she knows the ins and outs of everything that CERN has done in the past regarding time travel and stuff, so the only reason why I say that is because she was so shocked to learn about this time travel thing when they opened up the inner works of CERN and stuff. You know, she like left and ran out of the building and stuff like that. So like, it's possible that like if she is working for CERN and stuff, like she's learned all of these truths about the company that she's worked for, and it's getting to her head and shit, and you know. But yeah, the only one I can think that would send Okabe these messages would be Moeka. So yeah, the TV has something to do with it being the lifter. I did write down lifter, like, because I remember her saying that about the microwave, like this isn't what's making this happen. There's something else at play. We just don't know what it is yet. Turns out it's a CRT TV that's down in the shop below. find it interesting how to CRT TV, because I feel like those sort of went out of like they aren't being made anymore, right? CRT TVs, like they went out of fashion like a long time ago, well before 2010. So you know, there'll be components in CRT TVs that aren't in TVs that you see today. I'm surprised they didn't look more into that, actually. They just kind of, like, after they found out about it, they just left it. I mean, I'd figure they'd have to try it, like, they'd want to buy it, right, if they could. Or, like, get it off them and then bring it up to the apartment with them. But, yeah, we'll see. I like the idea that Kurisu's like, you know, oh, you can't squeeze all of this, like, physical matter into 32 bytes or whatever the thing was, the measurement. But they said that memories, though, which is interesting considering that's how Okabe's works. Like, every time you send a D-mail to the past and he, like, follows along with it, it's almost like his memories are going with it anyway. So it's almost like they're already doing what they say they want to do. You know what I mean? The question is just whether or not they can do it to other people. So if they can manage to... if they can harness that, it would be nice to see if they could get everybody to go to a different world line. So if you could get not just Okabe, but you could get Kurisu, you could get Mayuri and Daru and stuff like that. And so basically that, like, every time, like, you send something back, all of them remember it. You know what I mean? So they're not, like, all out of the loop. Like, everyone but Okabe seems to know what's going on, but everyone's like, what just happened? Like, what are you talking about? And shit like that. It'd be nice if we could get multiple people back. And I feel like that's where it's heading. That's what it seems like anyway. But we'll have to see. I find it interesting how Mayuri said she would be sad for herself knowing that only she would know like things that have occurred in the future, you know, whereas everyone else wouldn't. And I think it really comes from being lonely. I feel like Mayuri's an interesting character and definitely like one that's very much... I mean, she's the innocent one, right? She's the very sort of, you know, she's very, like, bubbly, almost, like, very childlike in her behaviour. You know what I mean? But a lot of what she says, while it comes across as childlike, if you look, like, more deeper into what she actually says, I feel like it's a lot... There's a lot of real deep talk in there, and I feel like she spells out a lot of truths that I think the other characters don't necessarily see. You know, with like Okabe being like the scientist that he is, or the mad scientist, sorry. He's so focused on like trying to do this stuff and whatnot. And yeah, he says like he understands, like he's getting to that point where he's like, oh no, but what, like, all this stuff is changing and stuff like that, but it still doesn't really deter him. Like, it sort of keeps him on the path of, like, wanting to do it, but he wants to do it with, like, the least amount of unforeseen consequences changing. So he wants to just be able to change, like, sort of what happens directly with him, as opposed to, like, everything changing around him and stuff like that. But like as Mayuri said, you know what I mean, like she would be sad not for Okabe because he doesn't know what's happening, but he would be sad. She would be sad for herself because I think it would feel lonely. I think Mayuri has this almost sense of like the idea that you're going into a different world line, almost like, you know, essentially Okabe from world line number 1 and Okabe from world line number 2 are completely different people, and it's almost like it's a completely different person. And I feel like, you know, Mayuri seems to think if she was to be transferred to a different world line, that she would almost feel like she was a stranger, even though, you know what I mean? Even though like everything is seemingly the same. You know what I mean? I mean, how many world lines has Okabe gone through now? You know, I mean, you could say that, you know, I mean, he's hanging out with 5 different Mayuris at this point, and 5 different Darus and shit like that, and it's an interesting thought to be like, oh no, like they're the same person, but they're not though. They could just literally be like another person. Like that's kind of what I feel like it is. You know, like how do you as a person determine like what like how do you distinguish like another person from yourself? You know what I mean? Depends on what your relationship is and what memories you've had with that other person. You know, I mean, we as people are, it's not necessarily this, it's our brain, right? Like we are our memories and our brain and stuff like that. So when Okabe transfers to a different world line, and he's got all of his stuff, and that's fine, so to him it might not seem that bad, but if you look further into it and you're like, well, Mayuri and Kurisu and Daru, all like, we've had different experiences and different memories because of the stuff that's been changed in the past, and well, it's almost like Okabe doesn't have those memories, because it's not like he went back in time in that different world line and then relived it. It's like he just jumped ahead to a point, so that everything that just happened in the past to the point of where he got this text message or whatever, he lost, and he doesn't have that experience with them, you know? And I think deep down Mayuri is the only one that truly understands that. Which is interesting, because she's almost like, she's the klutz, you know what I mean? She's almost like the airhead kind of, you know, jokey, very innocent character, and yet she is the one that almost sees her one life, like the life that she is living, as, you know, like the right one, and the one that she wants to focus on. While you've got like Okabe sort of trying to not really trying, but you know, he is going ahead with all this time travel stuff, and by doing so he's moving to a different world line where there's a different Mayuri and different like his friends are just, they're all different because they've all had different experiences. I'd say, yeah, obviously they're similar. They've got like all the same personality and everything like that. But like I said, you know what I mean? It's a memory. It's memory, and it's basically a memories that make you as a person. And I think, you know, while if you were to like go back like an hour or whatnot in a different world line, yeah, it'll not change that much. Like she's just a different person to what like Mayuri's just a different person to what she was like an hour ago. Like, it's not going to be that different, but she won't be the same Mayuri as a different world line Mayuri, because they may have said different things which caused different circumstances to happen in that hour. She may think differently from then on. Then as soon as you start going back further, considering all the other messages that were done, like before, you're talking about going back like 18 years to change something. That's why I said, like, in the last episode, or the episode before, when I was talking about and discussing it, like, you know, like, I'm surprised, so surprised that all of them are, like, still know each other. And are still at this point where they're at this lab and it's all about time travel and stuff. Like, because when you talk about going that far back, so much can change in that time. Like, so much can change. So the fact that that's still like all together after all of that, and like still almost on the exact same track that they were on, is a surprise in of itself. You know what I mean? Because they could have gone down so many different paths. Like, they might have just, like, one thing might have just changed their course to do something else. Like, Okabe might have now wanted to become a fucking a mad scientist, you know what I mean, at one point. And then if he didn't, well, that's it. Like, that's out the window, so they never did all of this stuff, got up to the time travel and shit like that. So much can change. Yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, Mayuri is a very sort of, yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to her as well. And I think, you know, I mean, I'm not sure what people's sort of opinion is on like the different characters and stuff, because I feel like with other shows that I've reacted to and stuff, like people have character based like opinions on characters, and they're very strong opinions, so people tend to talk about characters a lot in those other shows. In this one, I don't feel it as much, and I think that's a good thing, because I feel like in that regard people don't have issue with the characters in the show, which is good. The only real character thing that I've seen is the difference between the dub and sub, how they've like changed the character like mentality from dub to sub. Like it's almost like two different, it could literally be two different shows, which I think is actually a strong point then, if that's the case, because it means I could go watch it in sub and almost get like a different experience, which I think is actually a cool thing, because, you know, Steins Gate dub and sub, pretty much across the board, people say, yeah, because the dub changes like characters' personalities and stuff, they still think that it's still good. So I think that's a plus, to be honest. But I think it's good that I think it's a good thing that people aren't really focused a lot on like talking about the characters, like maybe like flaws, or, you know what I mean, like one of the characters is weak compared to the other ones. But I think it's an interesting thing where Mayuri is very much one of those sort of, you know what I mean, could easily be, you know, described as somebody who, if people aren't really looking hard into it, could easily be described as a character who is, at least up until this point, could be described as a character who's just, oh, she's just a klutz, and maybe she's there for like comedic effect, or, you know what I mean, or something like that, or just the cutesy character, you know what I mean. But like it's nice to see it when it delves deep into characters, and they all have strong character points that they bring to the front. The only one that I would say hasn't done that yet is Daru, so, you know, it'll be nice to see if there's anything that comes up with that. I hope so. But yeah, that's that. So yeah, there was a whole thing of Christina like talking about her dad and stuff, and how you know, her dad hates her because she essentially got into science very early and stuff like that, and she was so interested in it, she started winning awards, and then what she thought was her way of interacting with her father was to debate science and things like that, ended up kind of putting a downer on her dad, because I guess he wasn't nearly as sort of, I was going to say switched on, but I'm not sure that's the right word. I mean, we don't really know how effective Kurisu's dad was with science. I mean, he could easily be like not that good. Like, he might just be, I don't know, maybe a science teacher or something like that, you know what I mean? But like not like a real hardcore scientist. Like, he might have never won awards and shit like that, but you know what I mean? So it's possible that she was just, from a young age, she was just, you know what I mean, nothing but science, and she just researched it, and she was doing all this stuff. She just managed to, it was more like a kind of like, you know, a science prospect, Kurisu was, whereas I don't think her dad possibly was. So obviously, naturally, Kurisu sort of overtook her dad, and I don't know, maybe her dad lost some sense of, you know, like maybe some self-worth issues because of that, you know, like maybe he wanted to be like a hero in his daughter's eyes, I guess, but like that doesn't excuse sort of his behavior for doing so. Like, I think if, you know, I mean, if he's getting violent and stuff and shit like that, and then ends up detesting her because what she just ended up being better than him, it's a bit petty. It's a bit bullshit. Before it was all going down, I was like, I thought when she was like, oh, I was talking with my dad and we're just debating science, and that's how like we got along. And then all of a sudden he stopped. I was like, oh, so that's it then. That was the last time she heard of him. And I was like, well, no, well, something's definitely afoot here then, because he's probably time traveled or something. You know what I mean? But no, she went on and said that all that happened. So I was like, okay, right, okay, fair enough. I like how Okabe was like, I'm going to fix this, but he didn't. He straight like, beforehand. If this had happened like 2 episodes ago, he would have been like, all right, we'll fix it with time travel. But I like how he kind of listens to Kurisu sort of. I mean, she's obviously like a bit uncomfortable with the idea of the time travel anyway, especially in regards to her relationship with her father. So I like how Okabe was like, right, we'll go fix it the normal way. We'll actually go fix it like in real life, like not by going back in time and trying to change something that happened there, but more like we'll just fix it in this world line, and we'll do it by trying to talk it out. Which is kind of like it's nice. It's a nice side of Okabe. I find it interesting that she says like I'm afraid she was afraid to do the time travel stuff because it might make her dad more worse. And I feel like it must be because she only sees the bad side. I think she only sees like the consequences, the bad consequences that could happen from it. And I think, you know what I mean, that there is also that point of, you know what I mean, the good consequences that could arise from it. But she doesn't see it that way. She sees like the bad things that could happen would outweigh the good things. It kind of shows like what sort of where she's at mentally. And yeah, I mean, whether she works for CERN or not is sort of this world line Christina anyway. Christina, I call her Christina. This world line Kurisu. I mean, I guess I could call her Christina, but yeah, this world line Kurisu. Like, she could work for CERN, I guess, just keeping it under wraps. I mean, it would make sense that. Where's Geneva? I need to. I'm gonna have a look this up because I need to see where Geneva is located. Geneva. It's in Switzerland. All right. I was wondering then because I was wondering because like if it was somewhere near America, it would probably maybe make more sense. But I guess like, you know, she has this thing where she's like, oh, I'm moving back to, I don't know, I'm going back to America for a bit. You know what I mean? And she said that's where she's working. It could just be like a thing like, oh no, I'm just going to work in America, but instead she goes to Geneva instead. So I guess it doesn't really matter if Geneva wasn't ever as close to like fucking to America. I guess it's still just, you know, whatever. You know what I mean? She still could just be like, yep, I'm just going to America, but instead she goes to Geneva. So, you know what I mean? The whole idea that she still works for CERN is still a quite clear-cut possibility. But speaking of calling Kurisu Christina, I find it interesting. I feel like I wanted to talk about this like very early on, like episode 4 or something. I can't remember exactly when it was, but I remember it kind of popped into my head when he said Christina again, and I don't know why I forgot about it. I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, in one of the first few episodes, he mentioned a previous Christina, right? Almost like he'd worked with one before. Didn't he? I'm sure he did. I'm positive he did. There was specific wording where he mentioned like he'd worked with a previous Christina before. I think he was talking to Mayuri at the time, although I might be wrong about that as well. And then because this was before Kurisu became a member, I'm sure. And then all of a sudden he's calling her Christina. So is there an essence of time travel that already happened? Beforehand, involving him. Now we know that Okabe was like we know that Okabe has this thing of like it's almost like his memories are passed on, like to the different world line, and then just kind of placed inside, like new world line Okabe's head. It could be possible that during the whole episode 1, when the satellite came crashing down, then all of a sudden like it kind of went back in time and Kurisu was alive, and you know what I mean. It's possible that maybe memories were transported through time, ended up in his head, and he just didn't realize. Like, you know? So it's like from the future, memories just came back into his past, into his world line, into his like, yeah. That's an interesting concept. So, do you know how we are seeing, like, because we could look at Mayuri and Kurisu and Daru and all of these characters, and we could just be like, right, well, we are not with the same Mayuri, the same Kurisu, the same Daru as we were in episode 1, right? However, we are with the same Okabe that we have been from episode 1, right? We are with the same character, right? It could be confusing, but I hope you're with me on that. Like, you know, because my whole thing of like people are their memories and stuff like that. The only memories we have carried on from Okabe, like, is we're still with that one. It would be interesting to, as a perspective, you know, we are with Okabe, and it's almost like he gets given memories from elsewhere, right? So it would be him transferring his memories into Okabe's head. So it would be like from a different Okabe, right? Sounds so stupid. Like, honestly, the more you talk about this kind of stuff, like, the more you just seem like a mental nutcase. I guess that's science in a nutshell, though, right? Like, until you can properly prove something, like, you just seem like an utter idiot. Like, you're just like, what are you talking about? You know? And it just, you know, I think, like, it's an interesting perspective that the only character in the show that we are still with from episode 1 is Okabe. All of the rest of the characters are back in that original world line, which we're not in anymore. We are in a different world line. So the only original character was Okabe. It's an interesting concept, this idea that because Okabe was calling out a previous Christina, that a future different Okabe in a different world line sent memories across, but obviously we didn't see that, and just planted in his head. So in his mind, he was like, yeah, I was working with the previous Christina. But it's interesting that he wouldn't recognize Kurisu then, if that was the case. That's something that I haven't really got on. I don't know about. But it's an interesting thing to talk about nonetheless. But like, that's all I've got to say, because if I go any more fucking deeper into that, I'm just going to sound even more of an idiot. So we'll just leave it at that. I mean, we've been talking about this for an hour. It's been a while. This is a long discussion, but I think, yeah, that's it. That's all I've got. So it's interesting nonetheless. And yeah, we'll move on to episode 12 and I'll see what we got. I don't know if is episode 12 the last episode of this season. I don't know. We'll see. I'll know before I start the next episode. All right. So yes, that is all. Okay. Shilling time. All right. So if anybody wants to send me something, I've received like one package so far from Michael Ortiz. He gave me the Deku statue. It's really fucking cool. It's up there. You know what I mean? If anybody wants to send me stuff, I'll open them up on video. The address to the PO box is in the description below. Patreon. Yes. Okay. Obviously, for $5 a month, you know what I mean, you get early access. That means you get all the videos 1 week in advance. I am changing that pretty soon, so it's more appealing to people to actually sign up for the early access. I'm going to start, hopefully, if I can, increase the number of videos you get. So essentially, if you're not a patron, you're just watching on YouTube, you will get those 2 videos like a week, like usual, like normal, right? But for patrons, you know, you would get the same, except you would just get like everything a week earlier. Now, what I want to do is, for patrons, is increase that number so that, you know, you would be able to watch like 3 or 4 episodes before YouTube. Before YouTube, like the people who are just on YouTube, like get them. So, you know, for example, with Steins Gate being every Monday, obviously you get 2 episodes. That is what it's at now. That's the normal YouTubers who aren't patrons will just get 2 episodes a week. Now for patrons, it would be like, yeah, you get the 2 episodes a week early, and then like halfway through the week, like Thursday, Friday or something, like I would like to put out 2 more episodes. So essentially, you would be able to watch 4 episodes, 3 or 4 episodes before it ever gets to YouTube and the general public. So I'm going to try and up that just to make it more appealing for you guys. And also I've got a special new thing coming up for Patreon that's special, so stay tuned for that video. And finally, Discord. Come join us on the Discord, guys. The Discord is fucking awesome. Bunch of great people over there. We like to chill and we're comfortable and it's nice. It's a good time. You know, so yeah, join us over there. We've got like, you know, we've got a place for karaoke if you love to sing. We've got rabbit streams, so if you want to, you know, watch like anime shows or even not like movies, stuff like that, you can go watch them with us over there. And Dungeons and Dragons as well. We started up that, right? We had my first game yesterday and it went fucking great. It was a whole lot of fun. I loved it. And it's just a short little sort of introduction to Dungeons and Dragons for those who are completely new to it, maybe want to try it out. We're fine having people who are completely new, who have never done it before, to those who are experienced and stuff like that. So if you want to come join us in the Discord and like get along with us and do that kind of stuff, then you're absolutely free to. And I'd like to see you over there, because I'm pretty much there all the time, aside from when I'm sleeping. So, you know what I mean? Come in, talk to me, talk to the guys. It'll be a whole lot of fun. So yes, that is all. So thank you everybody for watching. I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.